I have personally been cleaned out with real estate, and I know what it's like to be in that position, and that's really what I want to do, is I want to come in and I want to help people make the best decision possible. There's nobody out there right now that is looking at this from kind of a consultative approach and looking at it from all the angles to see what the best option is for them. You really technically have 5 ways of being able to get out of your house and sell your house. So you obviously have it putting in the MLS, you're putting it through with a traditional agent and a traditional sale. You can go to cash buyers. There's a ton of cash buyers that are in the market that are trying to come in and get a property for 60, 70 cents on the dollar. You can for sale by owner. You can do it yourself, which is really complicated. There's a lot that goes into that. And if you don't know what you're doing, there can be a lot of pitfalls in that, and you can end up burning yourself down the line. Or, you can let it go to foreclosure. If you're in that predicament, you can let it go and let the bank take it back. And then, the fifth is that you turn yourself into a landlord. And that carries just being in the industry for a really long time and being in that space. It's not easy being a landlord. You have responsibility, especially here in Arizona. AC goes out. You are legally obligated to ensure that they have air conditioning and that it's turned back on within X amount of time. You also get a lot of things where you're getting called at 2 o'clock in the morning for a clogged toilet. If something breaks, the AC goes out, whatever it is, and most people don't want to do that. They don't want to be a landlord. Property management companies are there to fill that gap, but they're costly. It's an expense. With a traditional agent, you're going to run into a lot of the pitfalls that I just talked about, but you're also going to come into where buyers are doing an inspection, they are contingent on financing, they are asking for repairs, and those things can add up. So unless you have like a brand new house that doesn't need any work whatsoever, they're going to find something on that inspection report, and they're going to ask for it as seller concessions, where they're giving the monetary amount for those, or they're going to ask you to repair them. And some of these repairs can run into thousands of dollars. So, going a traditional route is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not always the best solution. Typically with cash offers is they can come in and they can close extremely quickly. So if you are on a very short time frame, if you're in foreclosure and you actually have a date set for your foreclosure where it's going to go to auction, the bank is taking it back and they're going to auction it off to the highest bidder. They typically can resolve those very quickly with coming in, just paying cash. There's no finance contingencies that they have to worry about where they're getting another mortgage. They're just coming in and they're paying cash for the house. So they can turn that around very quickly. Usually, I've seen them as quick as 7 to 10 days. So if you have an urgent need where you are that tight up against of just losing your home, a cash buyer can be a great resource, because they can come in, they can get you, fair market value, because you have to look at that from the perspective of the investor as well. Is they're coming in, they're buying the property, they have to make some money off this, right? And they might have to do some updates to it. They might have to rehab, they might have to fix and flip it. It really depends on what their exit is on this. But a lot of times with people in pre-foreclosure or foreclosure, if they're not paying the mortgage, there's probably some disarray inside the house. There's probably some work that needs to get done that they can't do, to put it on the market traditionally. Typically, that is where the benefit comes in, is they can do an extremely quick close. They don't have any contingencies. You don't have to worry about repairs. They come in and they just, as is, they're taking that house. They're typically able to assist you of getting out of the house. A lot of people that are in pre-foreclosure or foreclosure, they don't have the means to even be able to move out of their house, to hire, a mover, or to pay for a U-Haul to be able to pack up their stuff and get out of the house. It's probably not most circumstances where it's the ideal situation, because obviously you're selling your house at a discount, but they're basically just paying you cash value for the house of what it is and letting you get out of the property. And you have no of these peripheral expenses that are typical in a real estate transaction. So, we can come in and we can offer a lot of solutions. And there are solutions that are outside of the box that are beneficial to both the buyer and the seller in a lot of these situations. I'll give you a great example. We had a seller that had their house on the market for 126 days. Typically, you can negotiate that with your agent of how long the listing agreement is, but most of them are 6 months or 180 days. It had been on for 126 days. They were getting absolutely no traction on it. And the father in the family, he lost his job in the mortgage industry. So, been on for 126 days. He had lost his job. He was the sole breadwinner of the family. They needed to move. So they were moving back to Virginia. They were trying to get out of the house. They didn't want to keep it and try to rent it. They didn't want to deal with the tenants, the toilets, and the termites. They didn't want to deal with any of it. So we came in, we approached the agent. Our cash offer would have been below what they owed on the property. They would end up writing a check for about $65,000 to get out of the house. We really structured this where we came in and we took over payments on their mortgage, put that through a third-party processor. It's what's called subject to. We came in and we took over payments on the mortgage. They can see every single month where they're getting paid, the mortgage is getting paid, the deed comes into my name, and we were able to put a couple of dollars in their pocket, let them go back to Virginia, and we took over payments of that. We paid the agent fees for the seller's agent. We paid her commissions. She was happy. The sellers were happy. They didn't have to write a $65,000 check to get out of the house. And we were happy we had a property in our portfolio. And we disposed it accordingly. It worked out for everybody. So it was a win-win-win. People reach out for a variety of reasons. A lot of people tend to, when they're in a predicament, they tend to bury their head, right? They don't want to deal with the situation. They're behind on payments. They lost their job. They don't know what they're going to do. It's really situational. There's a lot of people that bought after COVID. We had a tremendous spike in the market. You could sell a shack on the side of the road for $50,000 over and get multiple offers. Those days have disappeared. Here in Phoenix, we've probably had about a 6 to 8% pullback in prices from the peak. People that overpaid for their house are in a little bit more of a precarious situation with that. Yeah, obviously their house isn't worth what they paid for it. Putting it on market, it's taking a little bit longer to sell. Buyers are getting very, very selective. Interest rates are extremely high. They're more than double of what they were a couple of years ago. And so people are coming in, and if they're gonna pay these prices, they're going to get exactly what they want. And so that puts people into kind of the crosshairs where it's an extremely difficult predicament where, the market's not supporting the prices that you paid. And if your house isn't upgraded, if it's not, turnkey ready, people are asking for concessions. They're asking for rate buy downs. They're asking for lower prices. So you've got a lot of confluence factors that are just, creating a really difficult position for a lot of sellers. For me to come in, I can offer more solutions than just simply a retail transaction. Most people will go to a real estate agent. Their typical approach is to just come in, put some data on the MLS, put a stick in the ground, and try to sell it at whatever price they've come to with their sellers. And that's not always the best approach. There's a solution to every problem. What we can offer is taking an assessment of, okay, what is the current situation? What do you have right now in front of you of what your circumstance is? Because there's a million different ways that a circumstance can go. So everything is tailored exactly to what your current circumstance is and what potentially your pain points are. After you reach out to me, we set up an initial consult call. It's just having a conversation. Nothing for you to buy, there's nothing for you to get locked into. It's just having a conversation where I can give you the best advisement for what to do in your current situation possible. I have resources there that I can assist you with putting in connection with. After that, we'll just go with the best route that's a fit for you. I'll have everything laid out with exactly what each scenario entails, what you're gonna walk away from, what your net is gonna be, what that's gonna look financially for you, and we'll find that solution. My goal is to help people find solutions. I want to make sure that everybody is winning at what their particular circumstance is, and where you need assistance, I will come in and I will fit that mold, and I will help you make the best decision possible.